I think that's 74. Somebody else want to have a quick go? Millen, have a quick go and see whether you think it's...
If you're measuring a greater distance, you still normally do it with a tape measure, or would you use a plumb line or something and then mark that off and measure that? Too much.
There are various ways you can do it. If you were doing this on a new boat and you had access to the boat ashore before you were doing it, you would tape measuring tapes onto the boat in the position you were going to measure before you put the boat in the water, down the aft corners of the transom and down the stem, so that it was there physically and marked in place, and you can then just go and read it rather than having to carry a tape about with you. What did you think? What did you, 74. I thought 78. We'll call it 76, shall we? Let's go to the bow.
The bow?
Yeah.
To the bow.
And then we'll have to try and assess a point we can measure to.
Put the bow into that corner you want.
No, it won't make any difference. It's finding a physical point we can measure to. That's going to have to be the underside of the stem. So practical issues again. The aft end was easy because we had two sharp corners at the end of the chine that we could identify that will be able to be picked up on the lines plan that can be identified. Here there's nothing low down and convenient. Oh, maybe there is. Maybe the chine comes far enough forward. No, just come out a little bit. Yeah, well, actually, we probably are okay here. The chine, I can actually feel with my finger the chine there, and
Little file.
so every boat's different. What I can see is that the chine is, you can see an edge to the chine up to about 30 millimeters aft of the face of the stem. So what I'm actually going to do is measure the distance aft from the point of the stem to where the chine stops, see whether that is 30 or 35 or whatever millimeters, and then measure down the face of the stem to the water from that identifiable point.
Just a question, Fraser.
Yeah.
Could you take from the stem, say go back 30 centimetres where there's a definite chine, and pick that as a point, or?
Yeah, you could do. No reason why not, but you would want to measure exactly how
Yeah.
far you had come back so that you knew. And then you'd have to decide whether you were measuring vertically down from that point or whether you were trying to follow the line of the stem down. If I do it right close to the point, to the face of the stem, I can be fairly sure that I'm measuring down parallel with the line of the stem,
Right.
which can be picked up on the drawing. If you come back too far, then you're then estimating whether you're measuring vertically or not, and you're probably not getting quite as accurate a result.
Okay.
There's 3 black corners of water.
Costs more than that for me to go in the water. I'm sticking the tape on because I want to accurately measure how far back from the stem we're going, and if I make a line with my pen,
Hard hat.
scratching your head now.
Hard hat.
It was good. I was going to say.
I'm going to call that 38 millimeters.
That's basically where you got a noticeable chine.
Yeah, so the chine stops about there,
Right.
and that will be something that can be picked up on the drawings of the boat. So I think that's 325. You have a go.
Yep. Happy with that? Parallel to the stem.
What we're trying to do is find something that can be picked up on the drawing. So if there were draft marks painted on, they would be in a vertical line, and you would be measuring vertically, and you'd be transferring that onto the drawing vertically. If we had to do this at a different position, you might have to measure vertically, but you're then assessing whether you're actually got your tape vertical or not, which might make a difference of a millimetre or two. But by measuring parallel to the stem, if you're trying to mark that onto the drawing, you should have that more accurate. Right, let's tie the boat up. Shall I get off?
Yeah.
What we're doing is measuring where the boat is floating so that we can transfer the underwater hull volume to the stability calculations.
Okay.
So we're measuring either drafts or freeboards so that they can be marked onto a drawing, so that that can be picked up from either the stability book or the hydrostatics to give us both the trim and the underwater hull volume, which will then be applied in association with the heeling angles and moments that we're about to
So you'll
do
take
when we
more
move the
readings from
weights.
them when you move the weights, you'll take more readings from
No.
that. You won't take another bar reading.
No, we don't need to do that. We'll need to do that with the vessel upright. So what we're doing is establishing what the trim and the immersed volume of the hull were in the upright condition before we start heeling the boat over.
Okay, before you.
Anybody want to ask anything so far?
Just to confirm one thing, Fraser, that the established weights we've got on board is you could put any weights on to work out as long as the vessel's trim and you know the weights, you've taken an accurate reading of the weights.
We are trying to achieve a heel angle of 1.5, 2 degrees. I've just guesstimated, because I've done it on the boats this size a few times before, that 800 kilos is probably about right. I did a 60-foot boat that probably weighs about the same as this 2 weeks ago, and we used 800 kilos, and it was about right. If you didn't know, then you can calculate back from the displacement of the vessel and the heel angle that you want to get and the available shift of weights. You can calculate back how much weight you want, and we can look at that in the office later if you want to.
So get the owner to provide 10 people then.
You can't use people for an inclining test. You have to use calibrated weights.
Right.
When we go to do the heel test, which is a different thing, where we're looking to see whether putting a number of people on the side of the boat makes the boat heel over 7 degrees or not, you can use people.
Okay.
But for this purpose, which is an inclining experiment trying to produce very accurate information to go into stability calculations, you can't use people because their individual weights vary, so that doesn't help. Their vertical centre of gravity varies, so that doesn't help. And
Yeah, yeah.
so what we're going to do next when John gets back is do the actual healing bit, for which we're going to have 4 people on the boat, and Julie, who I'm going to ask to be still and at the helm position.
She's not there.
The length of the pendulum is from the point where it's hinged to the bit of wood I've got taped across the top of the tank, because that's the bit I'm measuring on. I'm measuring on the bit of wood. I'm not measuring at the bottom of the pendulum where it's floating through the water.
Say from the knot, from the top of the knot there.
It's a bit of a blooming long walk going round this marina, but it might actually be better for this next bit if everybody was up on the top, because you'll be able to see actually what's happening on the front of the back of the boat rather than trying to peer up from the pontoon here. So we need to keep 4 people here. What we need to do now is measure the shift distances and the pendulum lengths, to which end, if somebody could be kind and pass up the tape measure from the trolley and the notepad, we'll do all that. I've got a pen, I'm all right.
From the top to the
To the
stick.
batten, yeah. Because that's, if you think
You
about
get that?
I shouted all that out to everyone a minute ago.
Yeah, no, they didn't understand.
All right.
That's why I'm repeating it.
So, measuring the pendulum length, as I said before,
Fraser,
yeah,
can you just hold 1 second whilst we're getting all the sound of that and none of you? Or is it better?
is that better?
Yeah.
So the pendulum length, which what I was explaining before, which you can hopefully now see, is from the hinge point of the string to the measuring board. What would you call that, John? 986?
No, 1990.
990?
1990.
990?
Yeah. 1990.
It's not 1990, it's 990. 990 millimetres.
That's 1.9.
So it's 1990, you're quite right. Yeah, all right, so forward pendulum length we're agreeing is 1990. Probably. Probably right, it probably isn't 1990, is it? It's probably,
So you want to measure it from where the exact pivot is. The pivot
Yeah.
would be more or less at the knot.
25, so 25 off that.
1965, yeah?
Yeah, he's right. 1990, 1801.
1965.
Right, so the forward one's 1965. The next thing we need is a shift of weights distance. If you take that over there, so take it to the bulwark, John, right across as far aft as you can get it here. So rather than trying to measure, what we should be doing is measuring to the centre across the boat of each clump of weights, but I'm not doing that. I'm measuring to the starboard side of each clump of weights, which is easier to position and gives us the same thing as the measuring the centres. So that's 3220. If you were doing this differently and you were doing it on a bigger boat and you were doing it with great big heavy weights being moved by a crane, you would actually measure every time you physically moved the weight you would measure the distance that you had moved that individual weight and record that, because it wouldn't be as easy as doing it clump by clump.
That's the shift, isn't it?
That's the shift, yeah. So forward shift. Right, so let's do the same thing at the back end. Right, here Steve's done a better job of tying the string on than I have, so it is actually to the top of the, what do you call that, 1975.
Yeah.
So aft pendulum is 1975 millimeters. If we were being really fussy, we'd take off the 1.5 millimeters of the thickness of the 1975. So the shift
Oh, that's the bulwark.
is the edge of the weight actually against the bulwark.
Almost, yeah.
Right, and that's the starboard side. So that is three two three 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 3365 3365. And we've got an aft shift of 3365 millimeters. Initially, all you need to do, Milland, is stand right there
Line.
on the centre line, and on each occasion when you have finished moving the weights,
Yeah.
go back exactly to that position. And you're not quite on the centre line, John. You need to be when you're marking the thing. So
Yeah.
I'll go to the back end, and whoever's coming on board will both stand on the centre line.
Yeah.
When we both think we're ready, we'll shout to each other, and when we've both got a mark we're happy with, we'll shout that we've got it done.
Yeah.
Once that's done, the first shift is going to be moving that clump of weights over to that side.
I'll lead off them.
So we're now going to move these weights. We're going to move them in 8 separate shifts. So each time we move weights, we're moving half the weights on each side of the boat to the other side of the boat. So we're going to move the first half, the second half, move those back, move the starboard ones, half of them over, move the other half over, move them back, move them back. You'll see it all as it happens, but that will give us 8 shifts of weights. It will give us 8 healing moments and 8 pendulum deflections, which we can then average all of out to give us 8 sets of GMs that we can work from. Are you ready? Let's shift 4 of these over then.
2 from the front, 2 from the back?
No, just take the 4 from the back. Yeah, shift your weights over, John.
Same longitudinal position.
Yeah. Might have too much weight. Where we've got to is that my best guess of 800 kilos for this inclining is too much weight. The pendulum's deflecting too far. So we're going to start again, take some weights off, even it all up again, and start again with a little bit less weight. Heel's so far over that the bit of the pendulum hits the side of the tank, obviously that's not going to work. If it's just that we've got a bit too much weight, we probably ain't going to end up with more than the 1.5 to 2 degrees heel angle that I was telling you was that what we're really looking to get. But we'll just try it with the next shift of weights and see what happens. Came from onto the port side, starboard to port.